Now, for more on the industry, let's actually ask one of the experts. I'm joined by Bill Russo, the founder of consulting firm Synergistics. He was formerly vice president of Chrysler's Northeast Asia operations and also spent 7 years, at least 7 years, in China on that. Good morning to you, Bill. And first of all, if I can ask you, what do you think the impact of the Asian car makers dealing with the US car makers?
Well, I think you're witnessing a structural change in the global auto industry, one where the center of gravity now for the future is right here in Asia, centered on China in particular, where the global auto industry is fighting really a battle for share and for share of mind, share of wallet for the Chinese consumer. You've got a structural shift occurring in that the rest of the world's auto industry in the past few years has actually shrunk, and the growth has all been predominantly in Asia. So what's happening is you've got a mature set of countries, the European countries, North America, Japan. You've got a rapidly emerging set of countries headlined by China and India. And you've got the emerging economies, and everyone's kind of fighting for the future. And I think the battleground is largely centered right here in China.
Look at your research, Bill. It's interesting that on the supply side, China and India both have low supply labour costs, very important. Of course, they've also got the demand story. So again, it seems that Asia really is the place to be when you're selling cars.
Well, I think what's particularly unique about the Asian economies, particularly China and India emerging, is that they're representing very attractive opportunities for companies to invest in local production and building up the scale to serve the demand of these local economies, these rapidly emerging local economies, is giving those companies who are here the opportunity to not just grow their business in these markets, but to improve their economies of scale for their global production as well.
Now, you obviously worked at Chrysler for quite some years, vice president of Northeast Asia automotive operations. Mm-hmm. I mean, GM is back on stream now, but again, it's all about market share, isn't it? How can, as you said before just now, the US compete with the Asian car makers that have low labour costs, etc., and strong demand? I mean, is it going to be the toughest year for them or not?
Well, I think, you know, if you're focused on your core market, everyone has to focus on their core market. You have to be able to compete in your home markets effectively. That, I think, we're seeing a gradual recovery of the mature markets, and particularly the U.S. market this year. And that's good. However, long term, in order to be successful in the global auto industry, you need the scale of economies of a global base. So the companies who are invested in doing well in China have a significant structural advantage. Companies like General Motors, who have done extraordinarily well here in the Chinese market.
And with GM, of course, I mean, you got growth last year in China, 41%. I mean, can that be repeated? And if so, of course, how beneficial is it to GM to be part of that joint venture?
Well, it's a tremendous benefit to them. First of all, in terms of repeatability, I think China's market will slow down. It's inevitable. You will reach saturation points in terms of the density of the car population in certain major cities. However, there are many, many other growing cities in China, and there will be a good sustainable demand here going forward, probably low double-digit rates of growth. Now, what does that do for companies who are here? It provides them with a nice, steady growth plan, and it also provides them with opportunities to attack that market with creative business models. And GM in particular is doing some pretty creative work in structuring joint ventures with their local partner here in China and extending the reach of that into markets like India. What they're doing with their Wuling joint venture is bringing a van developed in China to the India market.
But one final question, if I can ask you again. You mentioned the word creative just then. It's also important to be creative as regards models and brands. Now, we've got today figures out from Tata and also Honda. The Nano, of course, is a big deal. But again, how important is it for these car makers, and how rapid are they going to be to roll out a new brand to really compete?
Well, I think it's very important to reach out to the population of wage earners who are beginning to be able to afford cars. What's driving the demand in China and India are middle-class wage earners who are able to now afford to buy vehicles. That will then cascade into some of the other emerging economies. Companies like Tata have struggled with initial introductions because in their home country, it's not an aspirational product. However, there are many emerging economies around the world where a product with a very attractive price point would be very appealing to the people who are buying their first car. So products like the Nano, I think, will have a good market outside of India, in Southeast Asia, Latin America, other places where price is very sensitive.
Thank you very much for joining me. Bill Russo there, the founder of consulting firm Synergistics, joining me there from Beijing. Thank you very much indeed, Bill.